Hey everyone, Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Patisserie. It's a pastry shop a la France. So let's take a look at what we have here in front of me. I know that a lot of you enjoy putting together little buildings and structures, and well, obviously this one has a springy feel to it, but because everyone is so creative and amazing, I'm sure that you will turn this into a variety of, well, you put your own spin on it. You can definitely see this dressed up for Christmas. I'm even thinking about swapping out some of the items here and turning it into one of those little oddity stores and making it kind of ghoulish. But anyway, let's take a look at what we have here. Now I've kind of pre-laid some things out just to simplify it for myself. And as we usually do, we're going to start off by just doing some paper piecing and getting our flat elements in place. And why not start with the front of the shop itself? So to do that, we're going to find this piece, okay? It's the only piece that looks like this. And then we have a little panel that's going to go right on top of this piece here. And you can see where it fits. You can see there's little cupcakes in the windows. You can use those to help with the alignment. And also there's a little spot right here. Essentially it just fits right there, should be flush with the bottom. So let's get that in place first. All right, let's get our glue flowing here. Make sure it's unclogged and ready to go. Get the main panel put down first. Make sure that I don't goof anything up here because I don't think we have any more of this paper. I don't want to mess anything up. So get your glue in as many of these little nooks and crannies as you can so that it sits nicely for us. Okay, and again, we're going to be lining this up with the bottom, and then of course, again, use the little cupcakes in the window and these little sections here to help with the alignments. And press that down. This is a good time for a little brayer if you have one. There we go. Okay, so normally we would put our vellum on the back of pieces like this, but because we're trying to kind of recreate the illusion of items behind a window, we're actually going to put the vellum on the front here, and then obviously there'll be a light in there illuminating it and giving it the appearance as if, well, we're looking through a little shop at the goodies inside. But we're going to first put this element down, and this is mostly to change the color of the little cupcakes in the window. So you want to line that up with the cupcake, and then of course it'll kind of naturally fill the rest of the, well, it'll just fall into place as far as where the window goes. Okay, so we've got that, and then we're going to put our vellum down. Then we're going to finish that off with the white trim. Okay, so now with this vellum piece, just go easy with the glue. I would just pop a little bit of glue out of the tip of the nozzle and just hit it with some tiny little dots and focus the location of your glue around the inner part of the window here, just like towards the opening. Just like that. I'm just doing tiny little dots. You don't need a lot. But of course, make sure that you are in fact covering the little cutout. Just like that. Okay. And I did not put any glue on the cupcake or the cake because we don't want that to be blemished. But we're going to cover this up like so. Okay, so keep the glue around the perimeter only. Do not put any glue on the actual cake or the cupcake. Okay, now if you're savvy, because like I said, my mind's already going a million miles an hour with this, and I'm sure yours is as well. If you're savvy with your software, you can get rid of those cakes, and you can certainly put a little Christmas tree in there, or some jack-o'-lanterns, or whatever it may be, a little dress. It could be a dress shop if you want to change it up. So you can see what that's going to look like, especially when the light illuminates it from behind. Okay, so that's that one. There's also a small little gold circle that just goes right here. So just throw a little bit of glue on there and just find your little gold piece, throw that right on there. There we go. Okay, and we've got a door and another window. Let's do the other window real quick. So again, same process. Just make sure you get the right one. And we'll put glue on this entire piece here. So what sort of ideas do you have in mind? If you're watching me on YouTube, leave a little comment and tell me what you plan on possibly transforming this into. Now, you don't have to transform it. You can leave it as is, obviously. And this is the prototype. You can see that you've got a nice compartment back here so that you can actually use it as a little gift box too. And while you're at it, you may as well include a little light for your recipient so they can use it as a little piece of decor when you're all done. Okay, so again, just working the perimeter with the glue, staying away from the little cupcakes and the cake. You don't want to blemish that. And then we apply our vellum. Make sure that you're getting it nice and centered, like so. Perfect. And then top it off with the white trim. You can apply glue to this entire piece here, obviously. There we go. And pop that right on. There we go. Okay, and let me see if I can find my other little gold circle. There it is. That's the problem with these little pieces. Sometimes they don't want to hang out. Okay, there we go. Pop that right into place. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here with our door. And the door is going to be flush with the very bottom. So let's get this whole thing glued down. And again, just kind of working through all the stuff that we can do flat, as it makes it a lot easier to pre-assemble some of these things instead of trying to do all this while the structure is assembled and dimensional. Keeps things from getting warped and bent and creased. We don't want to do that. Okay, so just get that nice and centered. There we go, just like that. And then grab your little vellum piece. Now the vellum piece is just going to cover up this section here. And again, make sure that you keep the glue around the perimeter. You do not want to blemish the little curtains there. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue out of the tip and then just hit it with some dots along the perimeter. They don't even have to be that big. Just very tiny little dots is all you need. Just keep away from the little curtains there. And pop that right into place. Make sure that you are in fact covering the cutouts. There we go, just like that. I had a little extra glue there, and this is not centered very well, but as long as it's on there, this white piece will cover it all up. And that's all you need to worry about. Okay, so let's get glue on our final trim piece. Just little things like that. This is the reason why, well, one of the reasons I like to do the assembly videos is so that you don't goof up and miss a tiny little detail. Most of you are pretty good at figuring this stuff out, but for those of you that are new, I want to make sure that you are taken care of from start to end. Okay, there we go. Final piece of trim is in place. You are still going to have a little bit of blue, in my case, blue. This is AC pool sticking out there, and that's fine. And then we have a little door knob, or a door handle. And I'm going to do the same thing there, just a few little drops of glue. And I totally overdid it on that. So just dab that with my finger. Get rid of some of the excess there and pop that right into place. You can see exactly where it needs to go. Just like that. Okay. All right, so that is that section. And there's also a little black strip that's going to get glued right here. It's kind of like a little puzzle piece. It's going to go right into that little section. We do want to get that down in place. We have a dimensional canopy that we're going to create and apply to this. We're going to do that after the structure is completely assembled, because we don't want to try to put this together while that thing's in the way, because it will make it a little difficult to work with. Okay, so there we have that. And then we have these little posts, and these posts are going to go right here, just like that. So grab your glue. There's two of them. They're both identical, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. And get your glue on our little post here. Get that in place. And I'd start up here, just making sure that you get that correctly aligned, and that should terminate flush at the bottom, just like so. Same with this one here. Same thing, just on the other side. There we go. Wonderful. There we go. Okay. Coming along here, coming together. Now we're going to put our little sign together. Okay, so we're going to begin with our panel, and that's going to go right here, just like so. Okay. So grab your glue. Make sure you get a little bit of glue out to the very edges here where these little nubs are, so those don't come peeling off. You want everything to sit nice and flush against the main structure here. And there we go. And pop that right into place. If it helps, you can kind of pick it up, give it a little nudge, whichever direction you need to nudge it. I've got my little brayer here, cover more surface area a lot quicker. Okay, and the next layer is this white layer, our little trim piece. We're going to put the sign on last. The vellum is going to go behind this little Patisserie sign, just like that. But let's get this in place first. So again, focus on these little details here towards the very end of this piece. Make sure that those are holding nicely. And probably shouldn't craft so early in the morning. Actually, it's not even early, it's afternoon. It takes a little bit for me to wake up. Despite a workout and a nice healthy breakfast, I still just feel a little out of it. But anyway, all right, so we'll get that right in place. Pardon my head here for a second. Just want to make sure that I get it nice and aligned. There we go. Press that down into place. Wonderful. Patisserie. Patisserie. Just like in my last video where I put the little perfume bottle together, I'm not even going to pretend to try to do the French language any justice here. All right, so we've got these little elements here. And you'll notice that there is a little marker here to help you with the placement. So just get that right in place, like so. I've got another one for the other side. I've got a little bulge here in the center. I'm going to clean that up using my little painting technique so that it's not bulging. Okay, and that one goes right there. Just make sure that it's nice and straight up and down. There we go. And let's see here. Actually, this whole thing is just kind of bent, and that's fine. That's going to get glued down flat anyway to the main structure. All right, so we've got this little black section here, this little accent for the top center of the building. So grab some glue and get this in place. That's going to go right there, like so. Make sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom. And then this little, almost a triangle. It's kind of straight at the tip, but close enough. Get a little bit of glue on that. And that's going to go right in the center of this element that we just put down, like so. There we go, just like that. Okay, now we can put our little sign together. I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to apply the vellum like so. So what you want to do is just use the dots again. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of glue out and just start hitting this with some dots of glue all the way around, and then maybe just a few inside of the little details on the lettering here and there. You don't need to cake it with glue. Okay, so I've got my vellum on the back of the sign. I'll flip it over, you can see what that looks like. And then you'll notice on the white trim portion of this section here, there are some little markers here to help you with the positioning of this. Now there's a hole here, obviously, so that when we get our little electronic tea light in there, or whatever light you put in there, that it illuminates the sign. So that's the whole idea behind that. And you're gonna just work some glue onto this piece on the back, just along the perimeter. Do not get any glue where the lettering is. We don't want to blemish the sign. Okay, so just like that, that should be enough. And again, use the little markers to help you with the placement, and just press that into place. Okay, so that's what it should look like on the back. Give that a second to set. And that looks nice. Now there are two little gold flowers that are going to go, actually let me see, I've got a little section there that just isn't sitting completely flat, so I'm going to throw a little bit of glue on my scrap and just tuck it right under there, right in that area where it's kind of not sitting flat, and give that a little extra love. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now the hunt is on for my other little flower, this tiny little gold flower. We're going to put that on the left and right side of the store sign here. And that's just going to go right there, just like that. Very simple. And where's my other one? Where are you? Well, it'll turn up here, I'm sure, but you're going to have two of these little gold flowers. The other one's going to go right here. So just make sure you get that in the right spot. And that is pretty much it for now. Again, there's going to be a 3D canopy that we're going to put on this. I'm going to do that after this thing is actually fully assembled. In the meantime, I'm going to flip this upside down and put it under my mat and let it kind of flatten out while we work on all the other elements here. Now there's some beautiful urns with some plants and flowers on the front of the shop. There's two of them, and the only difference is this little accent piece here in the center of the urn. You want to make sure that you get that lined up with the correct corresponding piece here, and I'll show you what I mean in a second, but you can start with either one of these for now, doesn't matter. Get your glue on the back of it. There we go, and then we're going to put it on this blue turquoisey color. Just line that up. It's a perfect shadow of this piece. There we go. Okay, and as you can see, as far as the urn goes, the little accent is right here. So you just want to make sure that you line that up correctly with the correct black urn so that you get that little hint of blue, in my case blue, popping through and not covering it up. Okay, so grab that. And pop that in place. Just like that. And these are actually going to be glued down to the little base that comes with this. I'm going to take this completed one and put it under my mat so it stays nice and flat for me, and we'll do the same thing again with the other one. Now, since we've already lined up that little accent piece on the first one, we don't even have to use any brain power to make sure that we've got the other one, because there's only one left. So we know we've got the right one. There we go. And we'll just pop that right into place. There we go. Okay. All right. And we'll get the urn in place. So our little plants are done. And now we're going to put some more little panels in place for the sides as well as the back. I'm going to put this under my mat again, let that kind of dry nice and flat. And let's take a look at this guy here. This is the back and one of the sides. Now with this vellum, you can do it any way you want, actually. If you want to keep the inside nice and clean, since the other vellum is not on the inside. So essentially what I'm saying is you could glue it here if you want, it makes it easier. Or you can glue it right here. It will be covered up by this piece in just a second, so it doesn't really matter where you glue it. I'm actually just going to glue it to this side just to keep it consistent. A nice little ring of glue. And just pop that. Try to center it as accurately as you can. There we go. And then we're going to take this piece and glue this down. You'll see that there are some markers here to help you with the placement of this guy. And that's going to go right there. So let's get that glued into place. Kind of building a structure kind of backwards. Usually you don't put the paneling and the siding up until you've got the structure done, but in our case, this is a lot easier to do it this way. There we go. Press that into place. Got a little bit of glue sticking through the window there, that's okay. And we have a nice little piece of trim to put over the window so it doesn't look like we're on a ship. Okay, and this section here is going to be at the bottom, so pop that into place and just make sure that it's nice and centered. Give it a little nudge left or right just to make sure that it's nice and straight up and down. Okay, then we've got this little piece for the bottom. There are also some little indicators down here to help you with the placement of this little piece. There we go. Use those markers. There we go. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so now this is the back where our little door is going to go. Now we've got 2 layers for this. The first layer is just to kind of reinforce this section since we're going to be opening and closing it. Now this is another one of those pieces that I'm going to put on when this thing is completely built as far as the structure goes. But we can absolutely, for now, put this little trim piece in place. And you'll see that there are some little markers there in these 2 corners to help you with the alignment. So let's get our glue on this. Okay, you got to work a little bit quicker here since we've got a lot of surface area to cover. There we go. And use those little guides to help you with the placement. There we go. That looks good. Press that down. There we go. And then we have this little panel. It's going to go right here. And actually, I missed something. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, and this little piece here, this is going to be flush with this little half circle here. Okay, so literally, it just covers this whole section. There's no border around this area here. Get that glue all the way around the perimeter, a little bit on the inside. The perimeter is probably the most important. And get that nice and lined up with that little half circle. You can use your fingers here to push this down to make sure that these are nice and lined up. And then press the rest of that down. If you've got a little brayer, use it. Okay, there we go. And that's what this piece is going to look like, just like that. Okay, so we can actually, I've got a little area there that I didn't get enough glue on. I'm going to clean that up. And this is just some scrap from a previous cut. So you can see how, since there's no glue on the bottom, I can rest this on this surface without blemishing anything, but really concentrate the glue in the little area that I specifically need it in. I'm going to put this under my mat as well. Let that glue down nice and flat for me. And then, forgot that there was this one little piece here. Okay, so that's going to go there. You also have some little markers to help you with the placement there. So get your glue on this piece. And pop that into place. Use those little guides, those little markers to help you. There we go. Okay, now this guy here, this is just the top for our little bakery. And we'll get to that in just a second. Let's get the front of this. And process is going to be the same here with pretty much the entire thing, just like we did on the other side, except this one has a little place for a cute little hanger. And instead of a basket of flowers, I've got a little cupcake. It's going to be hanging from that. We'll do that. We'll do that towards the end. Okay, so let's grab our glue, get it on this panel. Work that glue around the perimeter and then a little bit on the inside, just nice and easy. Just like that. And we've got little markers here again to help us make sure that we get this in the right spot. The little cutout, that little slit there, make sure that you're not obstructing that. We're going to use that later on. Okay, we've got this little element that goes on the bottom. Let's get that in place. There we go. And that just leaves our little diagonal piece there, the turquoise piece, and the little window trim. And then we can begin. Probably put the base together first, just to get our feet wet with some dimensional assembly before we move on to the house, or to the bakery itself, I should say. There we go, beautiful. And finally, our little piece of window trim. Get that in place. Again, make sure that the orientation is correct, nice and straight up and down. That looks good. Okay, great. All right, so we've got that. We've got this. We'll put all this stuff together. And then, just real quick, this is the little slanted roof that goes behind the sign. We've got a black piece and then just a little accent piece that goes on top of it. And I ran this through an older Cuttlebug folder just to add a little print to it, add a little embossing. Let's just get that done and ready so that when we're ready to put our roof on, we can just grab this and pop it right on. You don't have to worry about trying to put this little panel or accent piece on the structure when it's already together and risk breaking down the walls. Okay, so this is going to have an even border all the way around. Make sure you get it nice and centered on your sheet here, or on your piece, the black piece. There we go. Now with embossing like this, you can use a brayer. I just wouldn't push down too hard because you'll end up kind of flattening out that embossing. So be careful with that. Okay, so there's the roof. I'm going to put that under my mat as well. Let that dry nice and flat. And in the meantime, just one more little thing here. Here's the little hanger that we're going to suspend our little cupcake on. And you'll notice that there are some tabs right at the very end. And we're going to glue this back to back, but we are not going to glue the tabs together. So do not glue the tabs together, just the little hanger part like this. Okay, you can see that against my hand here. So I'm going to put glue on just the hanger part, not the tabs. Just little dots. Okay, and grab the other piece. We're going back to back. I got my texture side out. Okay, just line that up, and then you can push this down flat. There's no glue on the tabs, so those will not stick together. But you can definitely take advantage of working with it flat. Okay, so now when we get this into the building, we're going to slide it through and then use these little tabs to anchor this to the actual structure. And we'll do the cupcake later because we're going to need to probably use some hot glue for that. Okay, so this is just a little platform that our little bakery is going to sit on. And all we need to do is take and apply some glue to these little triangles. There's a total of 4 of them. And just glue those to the neighboring walls. So I'm going to start here. Just a little bit of glue, and that's fine. Well, you can probably dab that a little bit, thin it out. And then we're going to take this and just align that nicely and press and hold that while it sets. Just like that. Give that a second. Yeah, this one goes together surprisingly quick. Okay, now we've got this little triangle here. Get your glue on that. And tuck that behind the neighboring wall. Press and hold that in place for just a moment. And that just leaves 2 more little triangular tabs to glue in place. And you know, the less glue you use, the faster this is going to set and the cleaner everything will look. Okay, so I'm just doing a few little dots there, using my finger to spread that glue out. And then we'll take this and tuck it in behind the neighboring wall there and press and hold. Okay, give that a few seconds and then we'll move on to the last one and we can close it up. There we go. And that just leaves this little guy here. Put some glue on there. And tuck that behind. And hold that down for a few seconds. So just created the dimensional wall that creates this pretty skinny rectangular box. And there we go. Okay, so all that's left to do now is apply glue to all three of these tabs and close it up. I'm going to start here by putting glue on the bulk of the tab, and then I'll do a nice thin little line along the very edge. And just spread that glue out. To the very edge of each of these tabs. And then go ahead and close it up. You want to try to align this with this side here. Just like that. And then if you need to, you can kind of nudge these walls in a little bit. And just continue applying downward force. Okay, so just keep pressing down along the perimeter, making sure that everything is making good contact, and take a look at the final result. Make sure nothing is sticking out or not glued down. Mine looks tip-top. So what we can do, because this side here was already anchored to this wall here, so I'm going to use this side, as it'll probably look better, but you know what, honestly, I'm looking at it, both this side and this side look great, so it doesn't matter. But if you have one side that looks better than the other, definitely use it. And then we're going to take this black piece here that has some little markers. We're going to glue this right on top of this piece here. Okay, let's get our glue going here. And glue that down. Doesn't matter which way you do it. You can always rotate this, but that's not even necessary because it's a symmetrical piece, so it doesn't matter. Just make sure that everything's sitting nice and flat. And that's pretty much it for the structure of our base. And that's ready for our little pastry shop once everything is done. So, that being said, at this point, you can go ahead and begin constructing the actual shop here. Now, we're going to begin by putting these two large pieces together to make it one. And we're going to accomplish that by applying glue to this tab and connecting it to the other section. Go ahead and get your glue on the tab. I'm going to do a nice thin line down at the bottom. Spread that glue out, just like so. And I'll put that down flat. And get that nice and connected. Nice and lined up. There we go. Press that down into place. And then I'm going to take this whole thing and lift it up, fold it over onto itself, and check my work there. Make sure everything's nice and lined up. It looks good. I'll press that down. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Looks good. All right, now we can close it up by connecting these two sides together. So put some glue on this tab. And just like we did before, a nice little thin line along the bottom. And spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab. And we can actually do this flat. So take this side, bring it over, get that connected. There we go. And I'm going to flip it over onto itself. And then just press down at that seam there. There we go. Okay. Almost there. All right, so now what we can go ahead and do, we can decide whether we want to close up the bottom or do the top. It doesn't really matter which order we do it in. I'm just going to do the bottom first. So move that out of the way. Let's get our glue on these 3 tabs. I'm going to actually angle this towards me. Be a little bit easier. Boy, it is cold today. I've got these super powerful lights in here that typically in the summertime just make it unbearable to be in here without the air conditioning running, and they've been cranking here for the last almost hour, and the room is getting colder. It just tells you how cold it is out there. And today's actually a warmer day. All right, so we're spreading the glue out to the very edges of the tabs. Okay, I'm gonna flip these up just a tad, and then bring this down, get this side aligned with the side opposite. Make sure that's nice and aligned. And then take a look at these side walls here and give those a little bit of a nudge if they're not lining up perfectly. And you can put this down on your surface and press down from the inside. We've got a nice opening in the back here where you can stick your hand in easily. There we go. And just take a look at the bottom, make sure everything's making good contact. If you've got any little areas that are not, just give them a little push. Okay. And looking at this, I see a little gap there that I do not like. I'm going to grab my scrap piece of paper and just clean that up. Never too late. Just get a little extra glue in there and then just press that into place and just hold it for a few extra seconds. Obviously, it needs a little extra TLC. There we go. Okay, the bottom is looking pretty good. Got a little area here that needs a little extra love. And I literally just put a little bit of glue right along the very end of that scrap piece of paper. The bottom of this is going to be glued to our base. So if you get a little bit of glue on this surface here, it's not the end of the world. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to close up the top. Okay, and that's what we have this piece here for. Now, when we do that, we're actually going to anchor this to one of the pieces first, and I'm going to anchor it. Actually, it doesn't really matter because this is going to be covered up by our little black piece with the roof with the little embossing on it. So what I was trying to say is typically when I anchor something, I anchor it on the side that I think is going to be the most visually prominent. In this case, none of the sides are really going to be visible, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go with this side here, get that nice and centered and lined up, and press that down into place right along the edge, making sure that that is nice and flush. And then I can take this and plop it down on my table and press down on the rest of the tab. Get that to hold. Okay. There we go. And let's take a look. That looks fine. Again, it's going to be covered up, so don't stress out too much about that. And then we're going to close this up. I'll put some glue on these 3 tabs. And then a nice little line along the edge. I'm starting to notice something here. This glue, the consistency on this glue is it's a lot runnier than my other glue bottle that I was using earlier in the video. There's got to be some science behind that. I got to figure this out. Okay. All right, so we've got all 3 tabs covered in glue now. We're gonna close this down, or close it up. And again, just make sure you work on aligning it with this side first. Get it nice and centered. And the rest of it should fall in place. Just kind of run your fingers along the perimeters. Here we go. And if you want, you can flip it over onto that surface and then press down on those tabs from the inside to get the rest of them to grip for us nicely. And now our structure is going to be a lot more structurally sound. We got all the sides together. Should be rock solid. Okay, take a look at your work here. Again, I've got some little areas here that are lifting up that I'm not too happy with, so I'll clean that up with my little painting method. Just pop a little bit of glue in there into these little areas. There we go, and then just press those down and hold them. All right, time to get our pieces out from underneath the mat. And I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to grab this section here and get this glued into place. This is our back. Okay, so that's going to go on here. The bottom needs to be flush with the bottom. And we're only going to be putting glue on this section here, nothing else. So go ahead and do that. All the way around. Do not put any glue on the little door mechanism. We don't want to glue that. And actually, even if you did, it wouldn't do anything because there's no place for it to stick. So just this area here. I don't want you to waste any glue. And the door's going to open from the top. Okay, so top down like so. And again, make sure that it's nice and lined up with the bottom as well as the sides and the top. There we go, all the way around. Just make sure everything's sitting nice and flat. We're going to end up putting a little bit of Velcro on this piece to keep it closed. Okay. All right. And now, I think it's a good time to put the front on. You can see where that's going to go. It's going to line up just like that. And nice and flush with the bottom. So ideally, the best thing to do here would be to apply the glue to this structure here. Yep, let's do that. I'm going to start up here. Make sure we get a nice line of glue up there. Whoops, where are you going, glue? It's out of control. Okay, just work that glue around the perimeter. And then just a little bit along the interior here. And then maybe just a few little dots here and there. You can put glue on these shadow pieces, that's fine. It's not going to show through because we've got this thing's actually covering it up. So now actually I'm going to go and do another thin line around the perimeter. And I'm going to work that glue out to the very edge. I may need to go in and clean some of this up. It's a large surface area. Don't expect to get this down in one fell swoop the first time. That's totally to be expected. But do yourself a favor and get that nice and flush with the bottom. And that should automatically line it up with our little cupcakes and our cakes. Okay, and then we can put this down flat on your table. You can push down from the inside so we don't end up blemishing or destroying anything from the front. Okay, and then we'll take a look at how things are sitting here in just a second from the front and the side, and if we need to, we'll just use our little paint method to add a little extra glue in any little areas that might be sticking out or not completely in place. Well, let's take a look here. Oh, that looks great. And that looks great too. I have maybe a little bit of a gap there that I'm not too fond of. So again, I'll just grab my scrap piece of paper and add a little bit of glue in the areas that I think can use it. And I'll just press and hold that. Give it a little extra love. And there we go. Okay. So my other gold flower still has not shown up. I'm going to guess that it's probably on the floor somewhere. I will find it. I'll find it. Okay. All right, that looks great. Now, I'm just going to put our little roof in place here. And it is going to be hanging off the back a little bit, just slightly. Okay, so it's going to go like that. So we want to get our glue on this entire section here. And pop that into place. You kind of want to push it flush up against the back of the sign. And just make sure that it's aligned here. And again, it's going to hang slightly off the back, and that is by design. Okay, just make sure it's making good contact all the way around. There we go. Let me show you how. I've got I think it's a 3/8 inch Velcro dot that we're going to use to keep our door shut. That looks great. Perfect. Let me get my little Velcro dot out of here. Let me just have a couple more things to do and you're done. Okay, so we'll take the Velcro dot, open up our door, and obviously it's two sides to the dot, and both sides have an adhesive on them. I'm going to put both sides on here. This is sticky here, so that when we close the door, it knows exactly where it needs to go. It's going to stick to that piece of paper, and there you go. Okay, so now you got a handy little mechanism to keep that open and closed. And that is that. What am I missing here? We're missing the canopy. Okay, so let's work on that. And actually, you know what we can do? We can actually put this guy in place here. So he's going to hang like this. And as I mentioned, we're going to take these two tabs and stick them through this little slit here. Okay, and then on the inside, we're going to take those tabs. You can see those tabs there. We're going to spread them out up against the inside of the structure. Okay, so they're going to look kind of like that. You can see how they're spread out. So we're going to put glue on them. I'll show you. Where are you there? Okay, so you can see, I'll do one tab at a time. It's going to be hard for me to show you the glue on the other tab, but I'll just do one at a time here. So you can see the glue on that tab. And then I'm going to use a dowel to show you how this works. Hold on a second. It's kind of awkward. Okay, and then we're going to take that and push it up against this side here. Okay, now I like to do it like this so I can make sure that I'm pushing on it correctly and it's in the right spot. It's sticking out correctly, and you can see that tab is now nice and flush up against this surface here. And then we'll just take and put some glue on that other tab and then push it the opposite direction so that it's nice and spread out. So I've got glue on this side of the tab. I'm going to take it and push it up against the surface there. Okay, I'm going to do that this way. And you can see how that sits now. Okay, so we're on the last leg here. Now, one thing I want to do real quick before we work on our little canopy is, well, here's this little cupcake, okay, and I've already taken the cupcake wrapper, which in my case is a gold foil, and I've glued it onto the little shadow layer of the cupcake there. So you're going to want to do that as well. Just get those two layers glued together. And then what we're going to do, since we need it to hang, is I've got some wire. What we're going to do is we're going to put the wire, we're going to sandwich it in between these two little cupcakes. So we're going to flip one of these over. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to have the wires coming out like right here in this direction here. It's a really thin wire. It's very helpful if you kind of flatten the wire out so that it sits nice and flat for you. It'll just make this job a lot easier. So do your best to do that. Okay, I'm just going to kind of position it like that. If you have some cord that you'd rather use, you can do that too. Like some of that elastic cord or whatever you may have is fine. And I cut this longer than I probably need it, just because it's better to do that than use not enough and then run into a problem. And I'm just going to go kind of heavy with the glue here, right in the center. And then I'll do a little dot. Just going to hold this in place. Do a little tiny dot around the rest of it. You take your other cupcake and pop it right on top. We're just going to sandwich that wire in between these two layers of cupcake. And press that down and give it a really good press. And I've got some glue shooting out of there, and that's okay. I would pick that up, give it a good squeeze. If you're using gold foil like I am, try not to blemish that foil, and just wipe off any excess that might have shot out of there. Okay, so you get the idea there. You've got the little cupcake now suspended and connected by these two little wires. And we're going to put that on that little hanger here in just a moment. I'm going to let that sit and really fully dry before we do anything else. And at this point, what we can go ahead and do is anchor the actual little bakery. We'll go over to this other camera here, and we're going to put glue on the entire bottom of this, all the way out to the edge. Okay, and feel free to go a little bit heavier with the glue on this section here. And definitely get that glue out to the edges. You can spread that glue out as well. And if you have a little too much, just wipe it off. It won't hurt. Okay, and then you'll notice on your platform here that you have some little markers, and you just want to make sure you get it nice and centered using those markers. So that's just so that we have a nice symmetrical border going all the way around, and press that into place. Okay, so we'll let that set. You can push down from the inside as well. Just open up the back door. And just press down all the way around the inside. Okay, and what we can do is we can take our little plants, and those are going to get glued to the actual base. So you want to just throw a little bit of glue right at the base of the urn, definitely around the base, and then just a little bit up past the base. Okay, so right about there. And then we're going to make sure that's flush on my table and as far left as you can go without getting off of the base. So let me show you if you can, so you can see that. There you go, just like that. Okay, that's as far left as it'll go without coming off. And do the same thing with this one. Get that in place, and then all that's left to do is put our little canopy together, which is very simple. Okay. We're going to let that set while we work on our canopy. Okay, almost done. So here is our the little pieces for our canopy. Now you'll notice on the bottom tab on the right side of each piece, there's a little numbering system. Okay, and I actually wrote this out for you so you can see what that numbering system is. A single dash is 1, 2 dashes is 2, 3 dashes is 3, and then 4 dashes in the shape of a square is 4. So there's your 4 again, 4 dashes in the shape of a square, and another 1, that's 5. The square, 5, 6, square, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and you need to put these in order from 1 to 7. Okay, and I kind of already did that, and then it got out of whack here. So I'm going to reorganize here. And they're going to alternate colors. In my case, I've got white, and then a blue, and then a white, and then a blue. So there's my 4. This is my 5. That would make this one a 6, since they alternate. And the 7. Okay, so what we're going to do, these tabs here along this side and this side are going to be used to anchor it to this. Okay, so what we need to do is focus on the tabs on the right side of each of these, and we're going to use those tabs to connect each of these pieces together. I wish there was a simpler way of doing this, but unfortunately there isn't. So we just have to kind of go with what we have here. So we're going to start off with just one tab at a time. So I'll throw some glue on this small tab there. Grab piece number 2. Make sure it is in fact piece number 2. And line that up so that the tips line up nicely. And just glue that tab that has the glue on it to the back of piece number 2 and just press and hold. Okay, so that's just the first tab. And then we're going to move down to the second tab here. And it might be easier to apply the glue from the back side here. Go easy on the glue. Will make your life a lot easier. And take that second tab, and you are going to have to kind of start curving this a little bit and glue that to the back, like so. Shouldn't take long at all. It's a very tiny piece, very little surface area. Moving on to the third tab now. Go easy on the glue. Tuck that behind. Again, you got to start curving it a little bit. I'm going to match the curve of the next piece and squeeze that into place. There we go. And then the next tab, just going down the line here. Just line that up as accurately as you can. And then as we start to progress through this, it's gonna kind of stretch itself out. Because right now it's almost looking kind of boxy, but it will be a nice little canopy shape. And now finally, this last tab here, the one with the number on it. Tuck that right behind it. And just press and hold that in place. Okay, so 2 pieces are connected. So now we're going to take piece number 3. This is piece number 3. And we're going to connect it to piece number 2 using the tabs. And that's what we're going to do pretty much the whole way across to create this little canopy. I saved I'd say this is probably, it's not even hard, it's just the most tedious part. I saved it for last. Okay, so get that nice and aligned with piece number 3. Get that tab behind there and press and hold it in place. Okay. And then get some glue on that second tab. A lot easier to see the glue on this blue tab. Again, you're going to have to make sure that this white piece that I'm holding, whatever color it is in your case, I'm not sure, but just make sure that you're kind of following the curve of the previous piece. Okay, and the next tab. Okay, so you can see the glue there. And get that lined up. Now as this side the glue begins to set, you can kind of start stretching it a little bit to give yourself a little bit more room to work. It should be pretty solid at this point, and I wouldn't worry about it coming off. Okay, next tab. Again, get it nice and aligned. And hold that in place. And the last tab, this is the tab with the number on it. Nice thin amount of glue, don't overdo it. And press and hold that in place. Okay, so just a few more times here. All right, so now find piece number 4. Make sure that is in fact piece number 4. And again, just to recap, piece number 4 is the 4 lines forming a square. All right, we'll start with the top tab. Grab this piece, get that lined up. And press and hold that in place. There we go. And pull the next tab down. Apply your glue. Line it up and press and hold. If you get a little bit of glue that shoots out, just wipe it off with your finger. No big deal. So how is yours coming along? Mine is looking pretty sharp. Hopefully yours is just as good, if not better than mine. All right, now onto the 3rd tab. Overdid it with the glue there. Okay, make sure you line it up. Press and hold, and you can see what that's starting to look like. We'll have a nice dimensional canopy that will really take this thing over the top. Okay, next tab, second to last. Line it up, press and hold. I'm wondering if you cut 2 of these out and put them together, will it form an umbrella? I don't know. All right, last tab, the one with the number on it. Line it up, press and hold. Okay, you can see how that's starting to look. Wonderful. And we are now on to piece number 5. So again, piece number 5 is the one with the little square with a 1 next to it. And same thing, starting with the top tab. Just a tiny bit of glue. Where'd it go? There's 5. I almost grabbed a different piece. Be careful. Get that lined up. And press and hold. There we go. Get in there. Pull that tab back. Nice thin amount of glue. Line it up. Press and hold. Should go really quick. Next tab. Get it nice and aligned. Press and hold. Yeah, so that's going to pretty much do it for this one. And then we just need to anchor our little floating cupcake on the little holder there. Okay, second from the last tab. Just make sure you line it up, press and hold. And that's it. All right, final tab here. The one with the number. Get some glue, line it up, and press and hold. Yeah, this was probably one of the most, well, I'm only saying this because it's been a while since we've done a spring bundle, but definitely very springy, very cheerful bundle. Okay, so we've got 5 here. Now find number 6. Obviously, since we're alternating colors, it's going to be the blue one. And heading to the top here, small tab at the top. Get a little bit of glue on that. Grab piece number 6, line it up. And just press that into place. It's looking good. Open this up a little bit. And next tab, the white one there. Line it up. I think you pretty much get it at this point. Pretty self-explanatory once you do a few of these sections, but I'm going to walk you through it just in case. Okay, next tab. Line it up. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to let all the layers, all the sections here dry, because we need to then take the little tabs that are left and connect it to this piece, which keeps it nice and extended, and then gives us a surface to put some glue on so that we can adhere it to our little bakery. Okay, second from the last tab. Again, kind of making sure that we're hugging the natural curve of the previous section. And that just leaves that last tab there with the number on it. Here we go. And then we just have one more piece. So you can see here, now I'm starting to stretch it out, what that's going to look like. Pretty cool. I think it's the first time we've ever done anything like that. All right, again, back to this smaller tab on the previous piece. This is piece number 7. I'm going to line that up right with the top. And just press and hold that in place. There we go. Let me move these tabs out of the way. Going down to the second tab, apply your glue, bring it in, make sure it's nice and aligned. And we got a little bit of ink on there, that's okay. All right, next tab. And just keep on following that natural curve. I've got 2 tabs left. There's our first one. There we go. And the final one with the number on it. Get that nice and aligned. Okay. Okay. So to help this thing keep the correct shape, we're going to start by gluing these 2 tabs in place. Okay, these two larger tabs. I'm going to peel these back for a second and just throw a little bit of glue on there. You don't need to put glue on the entire tab. You'll notice there's a point right in the center of this. You want to keep that right between those 2 tabs that we just applied glue to. And just press those down. Get that nice and centered. Just like that. You can actually put that down on your surface if it helps. Okay, so you see that there. And I wasn't patient enough. I'm gonna be patient here because there's a lot of tension here with all this paper trying to come loose. So I'm gonna just do this one first. Make sure that one sticks, and then I can peel that tab back and add a little extra glue. I didn't add enough on there, I don't think. Okay, and then press that one down into place and hold it. And then I'm going to skip these, and I'm going to go down to the very end here, and we'll do the last tabs here on both sides. So just peel this tab back, add a little bit of glue, bring it in, and just glue that right to the very end of this piece, and make sure that it's straight down and up against this piece as far as it'll go. Okay, and press and hold that in place, and you can see what our canopy looks like, nice and dimensional. Holding that in place, and I'm going to go over here, put some glue on this tab, bring it over, and you can see how there's a little gap there. Okay, I'm pushing this as far as it'll go up against this piece as I'm holding the tab up against it, so that it's nice and flat going down, nice and straight up and down there. Okay, so that'll hold that in place. And then it's just a matter of getting the rest of these glued down just for reinforcement. I'll just do a little drop of glue on each of these. Bring those down and hold those one at a time. Should go pretty quick, as you can see there. There we go. There we go. And then we've got these 3 here. There we go. We'll bring those over, press them down against this little skeleton piece, as we call them. And there we go. Just like that. And there's your beautiful little canopy. Okay, so you can see on this pattern piece that I have here a little bit of an outline or a shadow of the actual canopy piece. So this is not going to go flush against the top of the door. It's going to go up a little bit. so that this section here matches up with that little shadow piece there. You'll see it once you put it down. You'll see how it kind of sits on there. So that essentially the top of the little canopy is flush with the top of this pattern piece right here. Okay, so all we need to do is put some glue on the back of this. I'm gonna go kind of heavy in the center, and then I'll do a nice thin line. It's kind of thick actually, around the perimeter. And I'm gonna spread that glue out to the very edges, just like that. And we'll get this in place. Again, remember the correct positioning for this. And even though we know we have a guide there, you still want to kind of give it just a once over. Take a look at it visually, make sure it does look nice and centered. Mine looks great. Hold that in place until it sets. Again, there's going to be a little bit of resistance. And you would definitely want to focus the pressure where my finger is here and here. This finger here, my index. And just hold that down until it's fully set. And that's pretty much it for this. And then of course we've got this little cupcake here. And all you're gonna do is just thread it through the little holes here to get that to kind of dangle. Thread it through, figure out what height you want it to dangle at. And here, I'll show you real quick. So just take this and bend it and just feed it through. There's a inner hole here, and then there's also, well, there's two holes to choose from here, but we're gonna go with the two that are furthest away from each other. Okay, and then obviously we gotta kind of bend that a little bit. Figure out what height you want it to be at. I'd say that that's probably good right there. And then just trim off the excess. And you can kind of loop it around once or twice if you want, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, that is it. Wow. All right. Oh, I forgot. So we got the little Velcro piece on there. Got our little light. And we are open for business. I hope it's a gluten-free bakery because I'm a little bit intolerant. But in my world, it is, so I'm gonna eat to my heart's content. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to our YouTube channel and consider hitting that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be free or paid. And if you make this or any of our beautiful spring-themed products from our new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group and join us. And actually, there's a little URL that you can just type in if you want to go directly to the site without having to do the search. So anyway, I had fun. I hope you did too. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.